You might think you know the major pandemics that have hit the world since 1950. We had the Asian flu pandemic in 1957, the Hong Kong flu in 1968, the swine flu in 2009, and, of course, COVID-19 in 2020. But how well do you really know them? And how well do you remember the diseases that almost became pandemics but didn't quite make it? From 1950 to now, here's a fast track through the influenzas, the HIV/AIDS crisis, SARS and COVID-19, for diseases that shook the world. Our first stop is the influenza pandemic of 1957, also called the Asian flu. It was caused by a new strain of the influenza virus that emerged in China and spread rapidly across the world. By the time it was over, it had infected 1.1 billion people and killed more than 1 million, mostly in the Northern Hemisphere. But the 1957 flu wasn't the only influenza pandemic. The next one we'll visit is the Hong Kong flu pandemic of 1968. This one started in, you guessed it, Hong Kong, and spread quickly around the world. This pandemic was particularly deadly with a mortality rate of 3.4%. That's because the virus was particularly dangerous for those under the age of 5. But there was also good news during this pandemic. That's because an effective vaccine was developed quickly and mass vaccination campaigns helped to stop the spread of the disease. Our next stop is the swine flu pandemic of 2009. This pandemic was caused by a novel H1N1 influenza virus and was the first influenza pandemic of the 21st century. What made this pandemic particularly unique was that the virus responsible for it was a triple reassortant virus. That means that the virus responsible for swine flu in 2009 was a mix of genes from swine, avian, and human influenza viruses. And now we come to the most recent disease to hit the world, COVID-19. COVID-19 has been caused by a novel coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2, and while it was first identified in Wuhan, China, it's now a worldwide pandemic. And although it has not been as deadly as some of the other diseases we've seen today, its mortality rate is still around 1.5%. But the good news is that there are now vaccines available to help protect people from getting sick with COVID-19. We've now raced through 4 diseases that have caused huge problems around the world since 1950. But what about the diseases that almost became pandemics but didn't quite make it? One of these diseases is known as severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS. SARS is a viral respiratory illness caused by a coronavirus called SARS-CoV-1. Although it was first identified in China in 2002, it spread to more than a dozen countries and infected more than 8,000 people before it was over. The good news is that a vaccine was never needed to stop the spread of SARS. That's because the virus responsible for it only had a 14% mortality rate. So public health measures like isolation and quarantine were enough to stop its spread. Well, now it's time for a quick review. How much do you remember from this video? Take our quiz to find out.